We were asked a question. It wasn't Frank in Cleveland's last call. I think it was Josh on the road, if I'm not mistaken.
Josh on the road.
And he had said, at the end, I didn't necessarily agree with what he was saying at the end, but he hit on something here. Because there are people who goes, you guys want to fire everybody? What, so they go win Super Bowls somewhere else? I go, no. First off, we got to understand that, yeah, man, sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss in certain places. It happens. Like, they're not all bad coaches. Again, Todd Bowles, Garbo in New York with the Jets.
I think I had the record was like 20-46.
And you brought up the Buccaneers, but I go, guys, this is always a moving target with the Buccaneers. He was a game away from getting fired last year, Todd Bowles was. So let's call it what it is for a second. Mike McDaniel, you said it yourself. Tell everybody when you were telling me yesterday about Mike McDaniel and his offense 2 years ago.
Oh, it was breaking the NFL defenses. They had figured out what to do, and now the NFL, they have to change the rules. Our defense is going to have to bring in different types of players because he has figured it out.
And now you watch him in his press conference, he's looking like he's going to go sit in a cuck chair. It happens that quick. And Mike McDaniel can get another crack at it somewhere else, and maybe he will, and maybe it'll hit, maybe it won't. Like Bill Belichick, known as a failure with the Browns, obviously went on and did other great things. Pete Carroll, terrible failure with the Patriots, with the Jets, went on and did great things with the Seattle
Bruce
Seahawks.
Arians?
With the stop there.
Is he in there?
Bruce Arians, yes, Bruce Arians. Yes, Bruce Arians. Like, there's guys, they start out, it doesn't go so well, they get another crack at it, and somehow it hits. And maybe it'll hit for Kevin. All I know is that Kevin right now has 15 games to get it sorted out. If he can't win enough games, you hear the callers, you hear the fans, you know how they feel, you know how everybody feels about this. There's no other things that I can say for the guy and for his future. And I'll get back to Kevin here in just a moment here. But we had the caller Josh on the road, and Josh had brought up I didn't like how the front office is stuck in their ways. This is all going back to Baker's performance yesterday. But you go back to where the front office is stuck in their ways. This is what concerns me about Paul DePodesta. Not that he comes around when things are good. That's one thing that concerns me. But the thing that concerns me is that it reminds me almost, let me put it in a different analogy. You remember the Guardians television contract back when they were the Indians? And it was groundbreaking, this groundbreaking television contract. The Indians are starting their own TV company. They're going to be able to do it in-house. This is going to be something that's going to make them a lot of money. This is something that is a huge, huge deal. It comes from the Dolan's family. Of course, they know about Sports Channel. You know how this is going to go. This is going to be amazing. And they were the first one to it. And then what happened, Tone? Everybody else passed them up. This organization... Analytics. Don't take analytics the wrong way. Don't take it the wrong way. I don't want to hate something that I may or may not understand. I respect it. You have to respect it. But the Browns were like the first ones they felt to it. Okay? Doesn't it feel like everybody else has passed them up? They have found the right mix of...
They found the balance, yeah.
The balance of, hey, man... Like, you do need some guys who are just willing to sell out and put their face masks in an ear hole to go get yourself a win. Yes, you need guys who can run this 40 in this certain time with this body weight and this size. They can get it done. But you know what? You could have a guy who's a Hassan Reddick, who's a total goofball out there, but you need guys to be able to serve that justice so you can take advantage of what you have with this guy, but he doesn't poison your water. And that's where I think the Browns are lost at. And that's what they're going to have to address this offseason when eventually people move on.
But Kenny, hold on. Now, even if the Browns had the perfect mix, if they had figured it out over the years, they had altered or evolved their guardrails, and they had figured it out, it wouldn't matter this year because their roster is in transition.
Yes.
You've got these older guys, the offensive linemen who we do have to talk about the O-line, and man, there's a lot of money up there and a lot of years, and that offensive line did not look good against the Ravens. Granted, they'll make a lot of offensive lines look bad, but you have that. You obviously have all the money sunk into Myles Garrett and Deshaun Watson. You have like $20 million in Amari Cooper this year.
Yeah.
Okay, he retired. So you have a roster.
For now.
You have a roster that is in total flux. So even if they had figured out everything, this year is not going to be the year. Maybe they poured that into their rookies, and maybe their rookies are amazing. But when you have a team that has this many rookies getting this much time, probably not going to be a great football team anyway.
No.
So we won't even know. That is the hard part. Like, even if Jimmy Haslam, that's going to be an interesting marker at the end of the year and an evaluation situation, because their rookies could look really good and their team could be terrible. They could be another 3, 4, 5-win football team, but because you went with this Joe Flacco, it was supposed to be Kenny Pickett, turned into Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, Deshaun Watson may get a half at the end of the year. I don't know. Like, they're going to lose a lot of games. What is the evaluation going to be?
Of the rookies?
Of the whole... No, I'm saying of where the entire program is at that point. Because they might have evolved their analytics. They might have a great formula. They're still going to lose a lot of games because of the roster situation.
We're only 2 weeks into this thing. So I imagine where this is going to go. How many games do you think they're going to win right now off the top of your head?
I'm still where I was at the start of the year, 4 or 5.
4 or 5 games. All right, that sounds like a decent enough number. But we don't take into account, and we do this, and everybody's guilty of it, myself included, because you can't guarantee what's going to happen in the future. We are 4 or 5 game winners. If we're going to say it this year, let's say we're 4 game winners. All right, well, we have to take into account there's actual human emotion that's going to be in that locker room. That means that there's probably going to be, and the defense is still playing as well as they can. I think there's going to be, if the offense can't get it together, and if they only win 4 games, they won't. So there's going to be some infighting there. You're going to have some resentment out of the two sides, so you're not going to be able to play complimentary football. I think at some point, I mean, if you got Myles Garrett already saying the bleep's embarrassing in a post-game press conference in week 2, who knows what he's going to say by week 7? And speaking about who knows what who's going to say, I got Jerry Jeudy walking around giving double birds to everybody out there. Who the hell knows what that guy's going to say later on this year? So you have to take into effect the emotional toll that it takes on not just the fan base, and it is taking a toll on the fan base, and it's been doing it for some time, but you also have to take into account the emotional toll of what it's going to take with some of those players, because there's going to be guys who have to stay. Because of their contracts, they're going to have to stay. And so you're going to look at your guys and say, okay, who's the leaders in my organization right now? Who's the leaders that I know that I can count on? And hopefully Carson Schlesinger and Mason Graham are guys that are leaders. Denzel Ward, I'm hoping that guys who are leaders. Miles, you know what? He did try. We'll see how it goes. He did try to get them all together during that game on Sunday. We'll see where it happens, but I've tried to put leadership in his hands so many times over. I'm not going to expect it right now. And we'll circle guys as the season goes on. You know, maybe Isaiah McGuire becomes a dog for you. He's had 2 good football games for you so far this year. You know, maybe he becomes a dog for you that we start to discuss it. And so now you talk about trying to police it, and then we go, where do we go from here in terms of general manager, head coach? Because if you're only winning 4 games, I just can't see you bringing it back. I cannot see you bringing it back. Even as of right now, you are not going to have a lot of trust in who picks your next franchise, what you want to be your franchise quarterback. There is nobody out there with a bullet that looks like Daffy Duck could draft. So that means we are going to be fighting all winter long on who to take. We're going to get passionate, cuss-out arguments over John Mateer and Drew Aller and all those guys. And somebody's going to have to step in there and take their guy, and then we're going to have to roll with him and hopefully make the best decision forward. So that's a very long answer to it. But all these things are going to be taken into account, because I can just say, well, 4 wins, and this, that, and the other. No. It's 4 wins and the fighting. It's 4 wins and the apathy from the fan base setting in. It's 4 wins and guys like the one guy, I read the tweet to you, he said, boy, I've been through a lot as a Browns fan, but watching this might be the straw that broke the camel's back, and it's Baker and Nick Chubb hugging at the end of that game. That's what it's about. And you've created this situation for yourself, and now the only one left to get themselves out of it is going to be ownership, because you're probably going to move on from these guys. Hope it don't go that way, but it's probably going to go that way. 216-474-0092. Can Kevin really do anything about this? Can Kevin really do anything about this?
Do you mean just like turn around the entire situation and win them a bunch of... What do you mean by that?
If I say that Kevin can't do anything about this, am I making an excuse for him? How soon would he go to Dylan Gabriel? Kevin Stefanski said no change. You agree with him?
I agree with him maybe for 1 more week.
Okay.
2 tops. Like, if Flacco is just insanely bad this week, which is on the table, obviously.
It's on the table. We are officially on the table in week 3.
I think it's going to be real tough when Myles Garrett is saying blank's embarrassing after 2 games.
Who knows what he'll say after that game?
Yeah, after everything he said over the offseason until he signed the contract.
Yeah, he signed the contract, buddy.
I think
The deal is done.
I think we're probably down to, God, if it's really bad this week. Because again, if it's atrocious for a half and they're just out of the game, Gabriel will then play in the second half, and then that'll be it. It'll be Gabriel going forward.
So,
I mean, don't you think that's probably that's a feasible situation?
I was just moving on because I agreed with you.
That's feasible situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if he struggles really mightily against Green Bay, like you're starting Joe, and I'm going to get back to what I asked you here 5 minutes ago, but you're starting Joe this week because you don't want Dylan Gabriel to have to face one of the top defenses in the NFL in Micah Parsons here. You don't want to do that. If he goes out there and he's terrible, then like, hey, Detroit's on the deck. Detroit's good. They're all good teams. That's why I kind of roll my eyes. Like, oh my God, you can't start a rookie. Well, if you really believe the rookie's ready, then what are we waiting on? But again, if you were to start him week 3, you're going, why didn't you just start him week 1?
Well, Kev was asked yesterday why they're sticking with Flacco. Here's his answer.
There you go.
We didn't play well enough on offense, and we didn't coach well enough on offense, and it's never going to be about one person. Joe knows there's plays that he can be better, and it obviously starts with protecting the ball in this game, and he understands that, and that's our focus moving forward.
Said he didn't coach well enough on offense either. So there's a thought that I had about Kevin. Like, how do I... Like, there's plays that are going around on the internet right now. And I brought up one that was highlighted us from a listener. And it's where the Ravens defense clearly knew it was going to run. And I go, well, look who the running back is. Running back's Quinshon Judkins. He's only had so many reps. There's not much that he's able to know. I know you can study in the playbook all you want. You can stare at that playbook all you want. But, boy, you gotta run it to know it.
And if he comes in and it's single setback, and it's in that type of situation, like the Browns are not going to have him try to protect Joe Flacco and pick up a blitz. Like he's going to be given the ball.
At the same time, I'm going, man, it's year 6, man. Like at some point, it comes to a natural end where I have to stop making excuses. Because like the coach of the year stuff, it almost feels like the media has pity on him because of who he coaches, the team he coaches for. That's not a reason to just hold on. And there's a lot of people outside of Cleveland that think he's great. And I don't think he's as bad as what some of the callers want to make him out to be. But I don't think he is a magician. I think he's trying to get the best out of it, but man, you go right back to what I saw in 2020. You go right back to what I saw in the years where it wasn't even that good. I can't say it back in 2023 because that was different and there was a lot of, like, Joe still had some gas and you had to change some things around. You know, I start to try to make the argument with Nick Sirianni here, and this is a comparison that I make. Like Nick Sirianni, offensive guy, you know, I know how to do this bleep. You had Saquon Barkley there. You had Saquon. For the most part, Kevin had Nick Chubb during the glory days of the offense. When you got a talented rookie or talented running back that good, there's some things that you can do. You have to respect it. But if they don't respect the run, you know, you're going to run into a problem. But then what does 2013 or 2023 come around with? Well, you played some garbage there at the end. Yeah, you played some bad teams. But you had a hell of you had a better defense than what we want to give it credit for. And you were able to go out there and win some games that a lot of people didn't think you were. It was a wild, wild year. And I think the more we get away from it, the more it was an outlier of a year because there were so many reasons why, no, you should not have been competitive in the second half of 2023. And you ended up making the playoffs. But as Lima will always tell you, there's always a bad team that ends up making the playoffs every year.
Yeah, maybe
and
it was
we could
us.
be that bad team. So I think that we're 6 years into it. And I can explain it, but 6 years in, it just sounds more and more like an excuse.
Well, yeah, and here's the hardest part for Kevin.
Losing 8 games in a row for him, the explanations just become excuses.
Sure.
And I have to recognize
even if they're all correct explanations, even if they've got a bunch of things going against them and working against them and his team, whatever. But the reality is, you know, you just saw Kyle Shanahan with a bunch of guys injured, a bunch of new defensive players, and then Mac Jones in, and what did they do? They're 2-0, right? So and it hasn't looked beautiful, but eventually the excuses run out. There are plenty. Man, did you see Jake Browning? What his record is with Zach Taylor?
Well, as a starter, he's 4-3.
Yeah, 4-3 in games he's actually come in. If you want to add them all up, it's really good. It's above 500. It's above 500, and the sample size is growing because they've needed him a ton. And that's with Zach Taylor.
4-3 is still pretty good.
That's with bad offensive line and terrible defense. So eventually, and I gave Stefanski credit when he won with P.J. Walker and when he won with, Snoop Huntley or whoever. Who has he won with over the last few years? It's been a cavalcade because they've used
DTR.
So DTR. They've had so many different quarterbacks. So
Kobe Brissett.
I used it as a feather in his cap. But if I'm going to use it as a feather in his cap when he doesn't win, I have to use it against him. And here's the biggest problem for Kevin. He has been coaching 6 years. Now, this is his 6th year. He's 2 games in the NFL. I think he's 40-46.
Yeah.
And he's won 2 Coach of the Years, and he's been to the playoffs twice with the Cleveland Browns. Normally a feather in your cap. But answer me this, and this goes for anybody even in Cleveland or outside of Cleveland. What's the identity of a Kevin Stefanski coached football team?
12 personnel trying to run the ball. Oh, you don't have one. Tell me when you are getting Kevin Stefanski as your head coach into year 6, the only thing I can come up with, they go for it a lot on 4th down. But I can show you their actual conversion percentages is go for it.
Yeah, but he's gone for it the most. And he's bottom 5.
Really,
almost.
even more than Dan Campbell?
I'm looking at it right now. He's bottom 5 in conversion percentage in the NFL. So they go for it more than almost anybody, and they convert the least amount in the NFL. So the one thing, it's like, yes, we're aggressive, but they don't get it. So, and it's not always his fault. It's Jerry Jeudy, ball bouncing off his hands, whatever. But nobody cares. In the end, it's like, well, then stop going for it. If you don't ever get it, stop going for it. So you guys answer anybody. You can ask everybody. What is the identity of the Kevin Stefanski coach football team? I
tell you what he tries to do. I just don't know if they're able to actually do it.
Like Mike Vrabel. If I give you Mike Vrabel, what would you say? Command over the rules, right? He's gotten the benefit of coaching situations, time management, all those things. People are like, oh yeah, Vrabel's really good at it. Well, guys? It's been 5 full years. Give me the Kevin Stefanski.
Last year,
that's going to be working against him.
Yes, and last year, I'm going to get to the phones here in just a moment. Last year, I was able to wrap myself in the security blanket of Ken Dorsey. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you don't get a good hand. I'm sorry, you got to play the hand you're dealt. And the great ones are able to get them to places like, if you ain't got the horses to get to C, you got to find the horses to get you to B, and you got to find a different way to get them there. You got to find a way to dig out of it. Now, it's only been 2 weeks, and maybe he'll impress us over the next 15 games. But right now, we're not off to a good start. Not off to a good start whatsoever. And I don't think at the end of it, he's going to be able to climb out of it. 216-474-0092. Andrew in Dayton, Ohio. You're next up on the Fan. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, guys. Good morning. How you doing?
Morning. We're doing well. Go right on ahead.
Here's what I want to say about Kevin Stefanski and this identity question. I mean, this guy is 3-17 in his last 20 games. All right, sure. I've been a season ticket holder his entire era here because I was excited about him. But I feel like a lot of Nick Chubb and some of these guys were masking a greater issue of his offense. We have no downfield playability, and they just play a boring style of football. So it's fine with me. If you guys want to fire him and get rid of him, I'll go 3-17 with anybody else, as long as they play some sort of exciting brand of football. I mean, we can't even score 20 points. I mean, it's embarrassing.
Are there any exciting 3-14 teams?
No.
I'm not saying that either, but I'm saying they don't even have a competent offense that operates like a true NFL offense.
Actually, Tone, you're wrong. 2013, that was pretty exciting. Josh Gordon was pretty exciting. They were a 4-win football team that year, and they were really exciting with Josh. So he's got you there.
Were the Jameis Winston games not exciting?
Were they?
There was a few of them.
I don't remember him. I remember Josh.
Well, he had
up until Denver, and then after Denver, it kind of went.
Did he have like a 30 touchdown, 30 interception year or something crazy?
That probably
would be with Tampa Bay.
That probably would be exciting.
Tampa.
Yeah. Well, they were like 8 and 9.
He
that
led
year.
the league in
7
passing yards.
Yeah.
And then also 30 interceptions.
Well, look, what everybody is saying now that they've seen the All-22s, oh boy, the film was not. And Ross Tucker called it out during the game. Now people have looked at the film. Not pleasant. Not exactly endearing for the wide receivers.
No.
They were not getting open. People were saying Cedric Tillman, his route running was horrendous.
Well, that's what I disagreed with people. I go, man, Joe's 40 years old. I think he knows his limitations. If he can get the ball out quickly, he's going to try to get the ball out quickly. And I assumed during the game, and Ross obviously had a much better vantage point than any of us. Ross said it during the game, the guys aren't getting open. I assumed that they weren't getting open. I know the TV cuts off the end of the routes.
You can't tell.
I was critical of doing such long routes because it seems to go underneath. But, But
now with the two deep safeties, okay, the Ravens, especially the difference between the Ravens and the Bengals, this was so evident, and maybe the Browns should have seen this coming, but they probably saw Roquan Smith look so bad in the opener, and the Ravens' defense looked so bad. They were playing the Bills, okay, a little bit different story, but you saw they could play the two deep safety, and then what would happen, any of the underneath stuff, holy cow, Roquan Smith was there. Because they got good instincts. It's not even that Roquan is the fastest guy right now at this stage of his career. He's clearly not. But they also, with Kyle Hamilton floating around, they know they've got instincts. They're really good NFL players. They're cut above the rest. So even if you think, hey, I'm getting the ball out and it's going to be underneath, you saw what happened. There was no room to. How many times did Harold Fanning get the ball thrown to him, and immediately guys were blanketing all over him?
He couldn't even turn around. He was getting ear-holed. Dustin in our nation's capital. You're next up on the Fan. Hello.
Morning, gentlemen.
Hi.
Fantastic show, as always, as you guys already know. All right, so here's the deal. If the coach gets on the podium and he tells you every single week that he needs to do better, what does that tell you?
Well, I just think he doesn't
need to do better.
I just think no matter if they were 17-0, I think he'd be saying we got to coach it better. I don't read anything into what he says.
Yeah, he's just getting through the press conference. But still, where were you going with it, Dustin? Tell me.
Well, I mean, as self-deprecating as that is, he has a motto of 3. It's strong, tough, and I guess apparently he just takes the accountability. That's it. He goes, Barry goes, it's got to go. Ken, you're correct. It's over. It's done. Bye.
If they get, I just don't think they're getting to a point. Dustin, thank you for the call. At first I said Gabe asked me yesterday on 8. So how many wins does it take to save their jobs? I went 7, right off the top of my head. They ain't getting a 7. And if they don't get the 7, and you will get to a point where people are going against them because they don't trust them and they want the highest draft pick possible. So then you're going to get people who are going against them. I don't want to go against them. But I just don't think they're getting to 7. And so if they don't get to 7, you're going to get more calls like Dustin. We used to do that back in the day with it. We've gotten better with it now because it just becomes the same call. Fire the coach, fire the coach, fire the coach, fire the general manager, fire the general manager. We'll get to a point where we can take them all morning. Every day of the week, we can take them all morning. I don't want to do that. You'll know the sentiment to it. So it goes back to what can you do over the next 15 games? I'm not sure there's much you can do. You have the game against Green Bay on Sunday. I'm not going to give you much of a chance. I hope that Joe Flacco is able to prove it wrong. I hope that their offense, they're missing a couple of pieces. They've had a couple of injuries now, as you brought up on the phone, that maybe you can get into a rock fight with them. But if it goes team versus team, I think a lot of people think Green Bay's going to win. That's why they're 8.5-point favorites or 9.5-point favorites going into Sunday. So a lot of people obviously think Green Bay's going to win. So then you're 0-3. So part of my goal right now is to get Dylan Gabriel ready to go because he's going to go sooner than we thought. Because that defense is probably going to put Joe in clamps, and he's going to be not able to get out of that pocket, and it's probably going to be a rough second half next Sunday. Probably going to be a real rough second half. And by the end of that football game, I can't beat away the arguments for Dylan Gabriel anymore. All I can do is hope and pray that he's actually ready to go out there and conduct the offense and protect himself, meaning getting rid of the football, getting out of harm's way, not taking terrible, hard sacks, being able to live to see the next down. Because then you got Detroit on the road right after. But there's no great scenario. There's no D6 high school football team that I see out there for him. So they're all big boys. He's going to have to play against some of them. And then we'll find out what Kevin can do with that guy. And we'll probably find out there's not very much he can do. Because when we're looking at Quinshon Judkins getting 10 carries in a game that we all thought, Nathan, me, Gerard, everybody, 4, maybe 5, 10, 13 touches altogether. They're telling you, they really don't have a lot.
Yeah, show how desperate they were.
Yes.